Hey girl, hey, and welcome to the Self Love Fix podcast, where we get relatable, we share tea, and we support each other on this journey of self-love, self-worth, personal development, self-esteem, and self-care. Because why wait until it's too late to start becoming the best version of ourselves? Let's start today. And I'm your host, Beatrice. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Self Love Fix podcast. I hope you've had a great week, and I hope you learned a thing or two about releasing shame from last week. And the inspiration for today's episode comes from the book Becoming by Michelle Obama. First of all, I feel like I'm always just diving right into the episode, but I feel like it's because in a lot of podcasts, sometimes there's just some rambling and talking for like 10 minutes and you're like, okay, I see the topic of the podcast and I want to get into it, but like I don't want to fast forward because I want to listen to what you have to say and da-da-da. So I'm just like, I'm going to help you out and just jump right in. I mean, I think a little intro chatter is cool, but sometimes I just want to get right in because I'm excited and I hope you're excited. So like I said, today's inspiration comes from the book Becoming by Michelle Obama. So if you haven't read the book already, I'm still reading it, by the way. But in the beginning, she talks about how she thinks it's silly to ask kids what they want to be when they grow up because how could they truly know what they want to be or who they want to be years from now? And I think she brings up a really great point because whether we're talking about occupations or where we are spiritually in our lives or emotionally or even mentally, Auntie Michelle is absolutely right. We are always becoming. Like that's the point she drives home in the beginning, like in the preface of the book and throughout the book. Meaning where I am right now. But it's this idea that we are always becoming. We're always evolving, we're always changing. And if you haven't already started reading the book, I highly recommend that you do because Auntie Michelle truly takes you on a journey on this idea of transforming, becoming, this idea of morphing at all stages of your life. So on that note, let us jump into the podcast. So maybe this idea of becoming is new to you. And maybe you've always felt like you have to have it figured out. Like maybe when you were little, you told everyone how much you wanted to be a pediatrician. And once you started college, no matter how hard those gen chem and calculus classes were, and no matter how much physics and physiology bored you to death, you felt like you had to stick with it because you told everyone this plan of becoming a pediatrician and you were going to stick through the journey no matter the cost and no matter if you didn't even want to do it anymore. But the truth is, we don't have to have it all figured out and we don't have to kick ourselves about it when we discover we want to change directions. If you don't believe me, consider this. Iyanla Vanzant, the woman we all know today to be a spiritual and inspirational teacher and one of Oprah's right-hand women, originally was a lawyer. She dropped her safe and comfortable lawyer coin and lawyer salary to pursue her true calling, which she didn't even discover until she was 30 and after she already had a kid. And might I add, she was broke at the time. She was a lawyer with lawyer coin, but she was broke. She had a child. She had no idea what she was going to do, but she decided to pursue her true calling despite having had this career already laid out for her. And then there's Ayesha Curry, who, if you didn't know, I'm a huge fan of, but that's like beside the point. The point is, if you didn't know, she was originally a child actress. I think she did a few acting gigs here and there growing up. And she had this plan to go to LA and become a full-time actress. I think before Steph Curry was who he was and before they were married, all that jazz. Like when she was fresh out of high school, that was her plan. But she decided that wasn't for her. When she realized, wait, I'm not even that passionate about this, she just dropped it. She literally just dropped it. And after getting married to Steph Curry and having a kid, she realized her true passion for cooking. So she started out with an amateur blog, just sharing recipes. And yes, we know she's married to Steph Curry, and I think that helps a little. But regardless, she made a 360 turn from wanting to be an actress to literally just putting recipes on a food blog. And look at where she is now, out here with a restaurant, out here. Don't get me started because I'm obsessed with Ayesha Curry, but she's out here with a restaurant, out here with a cookbook and doing so many things all revolving around food, just like she envisioned for herself, because she decided to follow her passion instead of the idea that she had for herself growing up, because it changes. Like, you might think you know what you want to do, but you change your mind every day. I mean, our brains are dynamic. They're not static. They're constantly changing based on our experiences, based on things we learn, based on the people we surround ourselves with. We're constantly changing. So we really shouldn't feel bad if we don't have it figured out. And you know what? Now, Iyanla Vanzant and Ayesha Curry love what they do. Like, they live and breathe their careers. Why? Because they decided that they are becoming instead of deciding that their destiny is fixed. And you know what? I'm sure that becoming a lawyer was a necessary part to Auntie Iyanla's journey, because now she has the receipts in case anyone wants to come for her or her empire, right? And I'm sure acting was also a part of Ayesha's journey, because we see how much it adds to her personality and her stage presence in her interviews and even her Instagram stories. The point is this: each part of your journey contributes to who you are becoming, but you could be selling yourself short if you stay at one place longer than you should. Case in point, if Iyanla Vanzant decided that she had to stay a lawyer for the rest of her life because that's what she had planned, how many people would have missed their blessing to heal or their breakthrough from her teachings? I know I would have. Listen, I've learned so much from her. Like, she has made books. She has a show called Iyanla Fix My Life. She's helped so many families and individuals discover themselves and discover their truths. And then she's also been, like I said, on Oprah's right-hand side, helping her with her show and helping her audience to discover who they are. Like, imagine if she was just like, no, I'm just going to stay a lawyer and do this thing that I don't even really too much want to do. She would have missed out on so much of her own growth, because I'm sure that just as she was helping others grow with her teachings and her books, she was also growing and she was also teaching herself and also learning just like her audience. And if Ayesha Curry never started that blog and decided to only pursue acting, how many people wouldn't have discovered her concept of the joy of eating well, as she calls it? Like, she has this whole concept where food should be a joyful experience and food should be surrounded by friends and family, and it should be something that you truly enjoy and something you take pride in creating and doing. She would have missed a whole community of people who were interested in learning that very thing. And again, I'm sure she also learned from this experience and grew from this experience and got one step closer to becoming, trying to use that keyword here, to becoming who she's supposed to be. Your journey of becoming is greater than you. You have no idea who you might touch and who you might affect until you get in alignment with what you truly want to do in each and every stage of your life. Because, once again, it could change multiple times. And how do you know it's changing? When you feel that tug and that pull within, like that voice you can't shake that's telling you to head in a different direction. Listen to that. Kind of like how I was talking about in last week's episode about that person who's into vlogging or blogging or creating or doing something out of the box. If you feel that pull and that tug and you can't shake it, do it. Do it. Just start. Just do it. I guarantee you it's going to be part of your journey of becoming. Because when you don't listen to that voice, you are stunting your own growth. You're missing out on an opportunity to grow and to touch someone else. I'm telling you, it's the bottom line. If you feel that itch and that twitch and that tug and that pull, it's a sign that you need to grow. And I think a lot of us ignore it because it feels uncomfortable. It's like, it's so comfortable to just stay where we are and to not listen to that voice that's pushing us into another direction. But growth is supposed to be uncomfortable. That's why it's growth. That's why they call it growing pains, right? It's supposed to be uncomfortable. But in the end, you benefit, or in the end, someone else benefits. Likely it's going to be both. And since this episode is inspired by Michelle Obama, let's use her as an example. So, Michelle Obama is originally a lawyer, right? And she had her own successful ventures before becoming the first lady. And traditionally, the role of first lady is to kind of be meek and to not really do too much, just kind of be behind the scenes and, wear really nice, like old timey dresses and to really just garden. I don't know. I didn't really follow first ladies like that, but I know they really weren't doing too much, but kind of staying behind the scenes and maybe doing a little gardening and having some kind of campaign of their own, but they weren't really too much involved, I guess. But with Michelle Obama in office and her just being kind of a trailblazer and the successful person she was, I didn't really think she was going to just sit back and just sit there and look pretty for a picture. And she didn't. She really got active. She had her Let's Move campaign, and she was doing things and constantly getting involved with communities. And I think that that must have been a point of becoming for herself. And maybe she talks about it in the book, but I haven't gotten there yet. But you know what? That was a point of becoming for her. And I'm sure that it helped her grow to be in this totally different position, the first lady position, and to use her passions and her skill set to make positive changes in other people's lives. Again, she was and is an advocate for reducing childhood obesity. So if you recall from her time as first lady, she inspired a lot of kids to get active, to get moving. She inspired me to get moving. It just seeing her personality and seeing her, the way she engaged with kids. It was inspiring. So you see what happens when you kind of step outside of what you think you should do or what you normally do, and how you could transform and become someone else and become something else for someone else, right? Now, the journey of stepping into who you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to do is huge for most of us. And for most of us, it's our greatest struggle. But you know what else is a journey? Stepping into who you're meant to be emotionally and mentally. Maybe you grew up being the hot-headed one who always had something to say to someone who came for them. And maybe now, as you grow into your 20s, you find yourself being less reactive and completely unbothered. And now you choose your battles. Or maybe you grew up being shy and never spoke your mind or your feelings, and now you're learning to speak your mind, speak your boundaries, and speak your feelings. And maybe these changes are happening within you to a point where you're finding more clarity and you're enjoying the journey of the transformation. But maybe other people aren't feeling it as much as you are, and they are quick to remind you of who you used to be. Or maybe you personally dwell on who you used to be and don't feel that it is absolutely your birthright to grow and learn and change at any given moment and at any given time, no matter what anyone else thinks about it. That little voice in your head is just a voice of doubt that is trying to knock you off your direction. That voice isn't even your voice. It's a voice of others you've heard before, acting like a little recording in your head, mimicking your own voice, again, to distract you. Don't give it attention, because whatever you put your attention towards grows. So release the shame and the regret that comes along with becoming, and recognize who you were and who you are equally something to love and appreciate, because one couldn't have gotten you here without the other. We have to appreciate the journey, no matter how ugly, because the fact remains that your journey uniquely makes up your story. And the fact also remains that, as the late Dr. Maya Angelou once said, when you know better, you do better. And if I could sum up the journey of becoming in any way, it's exactly that. It is a process of doing better once you know better. That, my friends, is becoming. Enjoy the journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Self-Love Fix. And as always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you so much to all of you who have rated and reviewed. I've read them all, and they are so wonderful. I appreciate it so much. And it really helps other people find this podcast. If you do rate, review, and subscribe. So I encourage you to do so if this podcast has touched you in any way. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday right here on the Self Love Fix. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. See you next time.